What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. This is our live stream for the session ahead. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you are all doing well. I hope you're all staying positive. And prepared. Looking forward to this session with you as we coast into the weekend. Now, normally, as you all know, we do see Fridays for the last 7 weeks now have been, rightfully so, risk off, right? There's a flight into safety going into the weekend. You don't know what's going to happen as far as numbers go. Obviously cases are growing exponentially. I think 2 days ago we might have reached peak fear. That's my own personal opinion. I did say it as I was feeling it, and here we are. I do think there's going to be obviously other times and moments when after we do see the curve flatten, when we do see resurgence in cases, that's going to actually kick that right back in really quick, of course. But right now, we are where we are right now. We're going to take a look at everything before we do. Today is quad witching Friday. Well, if you go to Zero Hedge, I don't have time right now. If you go to Zero Hedge, there's an article that was posted yesterday on it. If anyone needs me to pull it up, but basically what it is, a bunch of different options all coming due at the same day, at the same time. There's always enormous volatility. Looking beyond that, what I'm looking at happening is that Mnuchin is looking to, as far as pushing a date of Monday for the Senate coronavirus bill to pass. I'm not even sure what numbers they're discussing. I believe they're talking about $1,200 check to certain working Americans, and then followed by a second one of the same amount. Really, this is just to cover to go ahead and bail out certain industries. That's what they're going to be doing. I think the market is going to be rallying into that news. I don't know. S&P was up pretty high overnight, up to the whole number 2,500, and is now off there about 3%. So very volatile markets. The Australian dollar is the strongest pair coming into the session. Sunset, Blair, John, Mara, Gabriel, good to see you guys. Good to see you all and ladies. That's for sure. We're going to start with just going through the things, just going through everything here. We have Bitcoin looking, obviously continuing to look very good over here. I'm just focused here on the 1 hour since I'm looking at a 1 hour chart. I have these whatever lines I have here. You can see that we've broken up, came into the trend line resistance, and are now bouncing off the support. So that looks good and healthy. Gold is a little bit bid today, finally, but off its highs as well. You can see like the S&P, this was trading up much higher. Let's get to where the action has been on the dollar index, the DXY over here. You could see definitely retraced and is now actually, the Euro US dollar is barely up on the day now, retracing gains of about 0.7%. The markets are so volatile these days. So volatile. Brent Johnson of Santiago Capital, the developer of the milkshake theory, did put out a tweet this morning saying, listen, whether it's tomorrow, next week, sometime soon, the Fed is going to act against the dollar. And when the Fed acts against the dollar, there could be a sharp pullback. That's the pullback to double up on, that he believes that it will be retraced and the dollar will go to much higher levels. But anyone who's just getting into dollar long trades, be very, very careful and aware. Aaron, Bob, Yazbek, Martine, good morning all. Yeah, let's look at gold. I'm going to give my thoughts on gold. I would love to share my thoughts on gold. So again, just to be clear, as we've always been, it's very important to own a percentage of your portfolio, whatever that might be, in physical gold. It's getting harder and harder in this moment to be able to find and purchase physical gold. There's a premium on it. That's because we are in a time when gold is money, gold is precious, gold is scarce, and it's hard to get a hold of. Okay, so long term, the high was about 1950 on gold. Let me show you. This is going to be quick, but it's very important. So I want to take the time here. The high on gold was 1919. All right, back in 2011. I believe that high is going to be taken out within the next 12 months, probably a lot sooner than that. And when the high is taken out, I think that we go on to make much, much, much higher highs. As far as whatever the ultimate numbers on gold are, I don't really think that's important, and you'll find all sorts of numbers out there. So let's put it this way: 2,500 is a more than feasible target for myself. Whether you're talking about $5,000 or $50,000, what you're talking about coming eventually is a global reset. All this debt is unsustainable, and eventually there is going to be a system reset, right? Gold is going to be a part of that. That's why Russia, China, that's why Germany is taking their gold back from those that were holding it from the US. Everyone is repatriating their gold. They want to own and hold their own gold. China and Russia buying massive amounts of gold for years now, month over month. Now, there's a huge paper market in gold, right? And you're seeing during the crisis, a dollar liquidity crisis, you see this came off 15%. Now, keep in mind, keep in mind what's happening with other currencies. Australian dollar is strong today, but over the past month, look at the depreciation you've seen there. It's not relative to gold. Gold has held up better than it has in the 2008 crisis when gold came off 30%. So just keep in mind that during this liquidity crisis, gold has been holding up. Now, there are people out there who are looking for gold to go down. 30% would be down towards 1,200, maybe 1,150 from the high. So that's possible. I've heard numbers, people say 850. I think they're wrong, but they might be right. Nevertheless, now if you hold money in the U.S. banking system right now, right? If you hold money in the U.S. banking system right now, do you think there's a possibility that during the next crisis, the laws they set up in place after the 2008 crisis, as far as giving them the ability to bail in instead of bail out, meaning they go directly into your bank account and take out a haircut, they take out money, whatever that is, we don't know what it will be. Will it happen? I think so. So what does that mean? Well, you saw that happen in Cyprus, right? 2012, people woke up and automatically they'd taken a certain percent, I forgot what the percentage was, out of their bank account. Gone. They just took it. Government took it, confiscated it, gone. They're going to do that across Europe. They're going to do that in the United States. What do you think is safer at this point, now that we are on the verge of entering into, you saw the jobless claims this morning? I don't know what the number was. What was it? 3 million? Things it looks like that the possibility of us heading towards a depression is obviously, I had to go ahead and look up what the actual depression was. So there was GDP going negative 10%, or a prolonged recession of 3 years. So what I'm getting at is, where's your money safer at this point? In the U.S. banking system, or holding physical gold in some vault over in Singapore or anywhere else in the world, right? If gold trades down 30%, at least you own the gold. What happens if they come in and take 30% off your bank account, which they're going to do, plus the dollar winds up getting devalued? In the long run, gold is obviously something that I believe is going to hold a lot more value. Being able to time it is too tricky, right? You expect the dollar to continue to strengthen, so you want to hold dollars, but you have to worry sincerely about that coming in, taking your dollars, and or the moment when the dollar devalues. you got to own a portion of of your funds. Even if you had $1,000 to your name or $1 million to your name, it's the same thing. You have to own a percentage of that in gold. So right now, as far as where I think gold is coming from here, I think gold is headed towards. I do think gold's headed towards 1,600. I think it's going to consolidate now between. This is the new range that we've developed. If it breaks down here and takes out a new low over here at 1453, then I think we're going much lower. Then I think we could come down to 1340. But as long as this lows over here and holds in place over here, then I think we're gonna head towards 1,600. We're consolidating now between this long big range over here, try to figure out what's next. If we break down over here, I think that we go down much lower. So if you're building a position over here off the lows of this range, then just make sure that you have your stop in place, because if we do break down, then 1,400 and then possibly 1340. All right, let's pull it up. So Australian dollar is strong today. I'm not so I did read reports that a lot of people actually were having problems with the TradingView charts loading over the past couple of weeks. I thought it was just mine or something going on with the live stream and the resources, but it turns out it's not. Market's volatile as expected. I think it's I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. So let's see what happens this session. Again, this is notorious for Fridays. The last 7 weeks have been, everyone went into risk. Here's the risk barometer pair, the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Australian dollar is the strongest pair of the day. This is up 2%. Let me pull up a daily, I'm sorry. There we go, up 2%. So, I mean, I'm not often correct. And sometimes my timing is lacking. The painter I'm picturing in my head is that Mnuchin is looking to pass the coronavirus bill on Monday. Maybe that happens on Monday. Maybe that happens on Tuesday. But I expect, a lot of the weekend media talking points to be about this. I'm actually looking for, at the very least, a buy the rumor type of event for equity markets to remain bid into it. After it, it's a question of whether or not that continues or they sell off. If we make new lows on the S&P, if we just like on gold, if we make new lows, we could go much lower. But I'm looking for and hoping for a bounce at some point, pretty high, up into between 28 and 2,900. I think from just looking at charts alone, these type of sell-offs, it's a pretty familiar pattern. And I think we start trading up like that too. Look at this into the look how volatile we are now. I think we were up maybe 5% earlier when we were at 2,500. I would not be surprised to see that. If we do see that, I'm going to be, and I will definitely, well, it's for me, shorting the S&P, I pay a pretty big swap. So nevertheless, this thing comes down crashing down hard. I'm going to be looking to get short in that area. But oh no, I'm not. Rewind. If you pull up the S&P during this time, and you pull up the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, the correlation is pretty tight. I think it's a easier way for me to actually play through the currency market. I digress. Yeah, let's start with the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. So this might be getting tasty. So, and I refer to all of you and your opinions. So I kind of feel like, so Australian dollar, Swiss franc obviously is up 1.8% on the day. we've seen the last 2 days. I don't know if this has anything to do with the swap lines being opened up to Australia 2 days ago, where they're now able to receive dollars directly from the Fed or not, or if this is when I was saying I think we're in peak fear. Um, but this is, in my view, a retrace, not a bottom. I'm looking to find a point to actually sell this again. I don't know. I'm not even close to doing that. I think it's too soon to start taking a position. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just like over here when we bounced up here, I thought it was too soon, and then we came down much harder. That could happen again. If you remember, right over here, we bounced up. I thought it was too soon to fade it, and we came down really hard. So it could be the same thing here. Still think it's too soon. I don't feel comfortable until we're much higher, and or I see the mood of people shifting. If we start seeing like a second wave in China, that's scary. That's something that then I would then look to go ahead. Although long term, I don't think the economy is recovering from anytime soon, and I just think it's too soon right now. I'm waiting at the bounce. I could be dead wrong in my tracks, but I'm not going to enter a trade too soon. Um, so it's hard when you're down here in no man's land, right? And that's where we are. We're pretty much down in no man's land. I don't even know if there's anything to lean off of. Start on the monthly time frame. There's not. We're just in no man's land. So it's not until we came up much higher that I would feel comfortable, or at least consolidate for a week or so and give me some type of base to lean off of to find out what the next direction is, up or down. But while we're in this area of falling and dead cat bounce, which is probably a dead cat bounce, right? In my view, it's just too soon to act. And probably probably a week from now might be a better opportunity to assess where we are on these type of pairs: Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. For me, it's just too soon. I know a lot of people were fading the fall over here on the way up, the retrace up. They were not fading it. They were taking the retrace, the counter trend trade. I prefer not to do that at all as well. Even here on the Euro US dollar, you could see this was the retrace and it has faded. So if this type of price action happens as well on the Swiss franc pairs or Japanese yen pairs, I wouldn't be surprised. I think the US dollar Japanese yen is interesting, and I'm building a position in here now long. Why? Because I know where I'm wrong. Look, I'm wrong below the breakout area of this trend line, and this trend line, the yellow line over here, and this blue line, the all important 109.71, the line between the bulls and the bears for me. So it makes it pretty easy right now. I think if we get above 112.20, this last resistance over here, at that point, I think that we really start breaking out to the upside. Again, we're in a precarious situation where the dollar is going to have a big bullseye on it. It's very difficult. A lot of people are expecting the dollar for people to act against the dollar, and they may try, but the way I also view it in this moment is this. Remember, the dollar was trading up here. You all remember, and it was so high, and then look, the dollar. This was a move against the dollar, and it was sharp and it was hard, and then now we're coming out of it. So, I'm just following the charts. I think this is a good place on the US dollar Japanese yen to follow the charts. This is kind of a play on what you're seeing on the dollar. And again, I like it over here because although now I'm going long on this, if I'm wrong, the damage is very small, and also I like it short on the other side. So I think that's interesting right now. Yeah, Thomas, this is very. We'll get to Bitcoin next. We'll get to BTC in 1 second, Naeem. There you go. Yeah, it's back. Definitely, Mima. DJ, what's going on? Small Friday group, but you guys are the best. Ray Dalio has some great information um, as far as market cycles and depressions, and extraordinarily valuable information. I'm glad you brought that up, Thomas, because I think I want to revisit it. Just put myself a note there. I think I want to revisit it because that information is essential. And even though that Bridgewater is basically blowing up right now, down over 20%. Ray made an enormously bad call. He's actually admitted that he has no idea how to play the market in this current environment. And but his research and his research team are the best of the best and absolutely phenomenal. And there's a ton of wealth of information in that. That's a great share, Thomas. Let's get to Bitcoin. I'm gonna just pull back and give ourselves an overview starting on the weekly time frame so we get a little bit of perspective. All right. So first of all, the most important thing for all of us and everyone to watch on Bitcoin, a couple of things right here. All right. First thing, deeper perspective. We're about more or less 51 days from the halving. The halving is every 4 years. The miner's reward in Bitcoin is reduced in half. It's going to go from 6.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes as rewards to the miners for verifying the network, down to 3.25. Right? That means there's much less supply being dumped on the market every day, if they're dumping or if they're holding. This trend line over here is the most important thing to look at. Okay, that trend line is the most important thing to look at. The easiest and safest way to play Bitcoin is on a break of this trend line. The 4-year cycle, it has a bull market phase and a bear market phase. The bull market phase is, the first more or less year to 2 years, after the halving. It's coming right up. So a break of this trend line to the upside is probably the safest. This is what I would tell my mom. That's the safest way to get long Bitcoin and when to get long Bitcoin. Even better, just follow the video on the channel, Beginner Strategy to Bitcoin, using the 12-hour and the True Trend BTC. Here we are right now, though, for us. All right. You see this trend line over here, this lower trend line? We're just that was support. It broke it. This could be resistance right now. And it held this resistance so far this morning today. If you can see, we came up into that trend line. All right. So be aware. This is the time anyway, as why everything is on the table these days, because we're in a crisis, and why it's possible we trade lower than 3,800. I don't think so. I think the bottom's in. I said it as it happened. What happens where we are right now today? We came into the resistance, we backed down, and now we're on support. If this support holds and we come back up again, I do think we break out back above this trend line over here. That would be really very structurally sound and healthy. That would be very, very bullish. And if we do that and we get back above here, it should, everything is looking phenomenal on Bitcoin, right? We're probably going to come up and take a look at 9,000 relatively soon after that. Now, what happens if we lose the support and we're rejected? Well, then we're probably coming back down towards here. Where are we? 5,400, right? If we come back towards 5,400, I think that you want to be scaling in. I think that even right now at 6,500, you want to, take a position, divide it by 10, and begin scaling in as we come back up. Once we get back above here, it's going to start looking very, very bullish on Bitcoin. um, why there are people talking about 1,000 Bitcoin and 3,000 Bitcoin and all that good stuff, and maybe they'll be proven right. They tend to do that as Bitcoin is towards the place where people who are talking about selling Bitcoin were up here, and there were on Twitter, Satoshi Flipper, following him for those who trade Bitcoin on a daily basis, and this is where he was taking profits and building a position. So that's Bitcoin right now. I picked up more Bitcoin on the way down at 61.49, 5,021, and 4,680, and 5,147. Right, and I'll see you at 110, and I will, well, I'll take some. All right, so oil, by the way, is pretty important to look at. Down 11% today. So this is reactive. This was Trump. I'm coming in. Oil is at $20. That was also probably a level people leaned into. Trump was like, I'm going to get Saudi Arabia and Russia to come to some type of an agreement, and we have a lot of power. We're going to work past this. And then Russia was like, no, we were serious. We're set for several years. We could take these low prices for several years. We're not playing games. Oil back down 11%. You know, if we are headed towards deep recession here, or anything worse, we're going to see much lower oil prices. I believe we break down below 20, and then the next number that we're going to be looking out for is 14. We were looking at this yesterday as probably one of the better opportunities, and you can see that's playing out very well today. Pound New Zealand dollar. It's the only pair that looked like it had actually a setup back into support or resistance, and this is an uptrend, and we were back down into that nice area of support, and I was focused here I remained focused here on the euro, and now we're just after being up pretty high. I don't even know how high it got overnight, whether it was a percent or what, but we're now back to unchanged on the day. So we do want to keep our eye. It's so hard. Again, back to the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. Me personally, if anyone has any other different opinions from me, please do share them. Only because I want to strengthen and fortify my own. And I'm the type of person, when it comes to anything, I definitely make basically informed decisions, but in the snap of the finger, if someone shows me something different, I'm willing to change my mind. I'm not concerned in the very least about being correct or being right. What I'm concerned about is being in the truth. So if anyone has a different opinion than what I'm throwing out there, by all means share it. This is a community. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Also, I just want to give it time. What I want to see happen here is, although you could have some type of V-shape recovery, right? And I would sell that. Please hold me to it. I want to sell that if we get back up there. If we're not having a V-type recovery, the other two things that could happen is that we start consolidating, which I would like to see, some type of consolidation that occurs over the next week, because then we could trade that to the upside or downside, or this is just going to be a dead cat bounce like we saw right over here, where we bounced up and then down. So one of those three things is going to happen. I'm not playing the dead cat bounce right over after this one. I didn't want to play this one either. So I'm waiting. Australian dollar, Swiss franc, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Pound looking good here today after these levels. When it was standing up here, basically, I was like a deer in headlights. I said, I don't understand why it's all the way up here. To be honest, I thought it was high when it was up here. Although I would like to own the pound over the euro, there's no way I'm stepping in front of that, and there's no way I would have. There are some of you who like to take those type of trades, and this would have been a beauty if you stepped in at the right point and you didn't step in over here, right? Because what's to stop you from stepping in over here as opposed to over here? But anyway, 2%. Market moves are huge and beautiful. There's money to be made on both sides, that's for sure. And just as I said, the euro is fading, all of a sudden it's catching a pretty big bid, up 17% in about 5 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, it's back. I want to nice Blair, beautiful. That's trying to read your thoughts here. I'm definitely interested in them. Um, Australian dollars is franc, but long-term trade, in my opinion, yes, it is. Yeah, I agree with you. If your position size is small, yeah, it's back. Same thing on similar to Bitcoin, right? I know long-term trend is up on Bitcoin. So if you could scale in right now at these levels, that's a good play. You're basically flip-flopping that on the Australian dollar Swiss franc. I agree with you 100% that the long-term trend is down on this, and then we're going to go much lower. And so long as, as you take a nibble here, that you're giving yourself all the way up to here to scale into that, just in case we come all the way up here. I'm not saying that we're going to, but just in case, build that position in, be small, be safe. Blair, I'm glad you took a piece of that. I wish I did. So Euro Canadian dollars is getting interested at these levels. I was looking for a pullback further, but we've pulled back 700 pips now, pretty hard. I have to say this looks interesting over here now. I'm not looking to play anything, on a Friday right now. There's enormous volatility. There's enormous, actually, volatility, and anyone who is, get on you for sure. But this is something that I'm going to look to reevaluate down over here, and it looks attractive down at these levels. I still, again, just looking at oil, can you imagine the pain that it's going to put on the Canadian economy trading if it does trade down to 14 and or lower? These are interesting times, but nevertheless, we are in them. All right. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. Week versus week, so I don't really like it, US dollar, Swiss franc, this is also interesting over here. I would say anything above where my mouse is right now is pretty bullish. I think that we're going to see much higher levels on the US dollar versus the Swiss franc. The reason I say that is I don't think I'm looking for a rally, right? I am looking for a rally. Like I said, my mark on that is 28 to 2,900 on the S&P. So that's not even a small rally. That's a big rally. I believe that will be the place to, if we get up there, to reinitiate all of our trades, our risk off type trades. But in the last crisis is definitely the US dollar outperforming the Swiss franc. I believe we're going to see a repeat of that. This is like the dollar index, the same exact thing we saw, and we'll see. US dollar, Japanese yen, US dollar, Swiss franc. At this point in time, I remain bullish on the dollar versus both of those two heavyweights. So that's interesting too, because that's not something we saw in the last crisis. It was the Japanese yen outperforming the US dollar. It appears, and by the here we go, and it appears by the charts alone at this time, it could be the US dollar that outperforms the Japanese yen. It's a different type of crisis. let's see, above this area over here, above 112.20, we could really start breaking out to the upside. So right now, this is the area for me to build my position into it. Why? Because my stop is below over here, below today's daily wick actually, or the 108.86, as we said, might be better yesterday. I said above this little line you can barely see. Let me draw it in a little bit thicker for you. Right above that is bullish, above that is bearish. This is a little room for noise. And then my directly in the middle is the 109.71 level. All right. Just taking a look around for 1 second. And something, a US dollar, Canadian dollar, I wanted to check out this morning. Thomas, if you're here and if you're listening, and or Alberto, if you guys have any insight onto the US dollar Mexican peso, I'm interested in hearing that. Um, Back in these levels, I was thinking 26, right? Now that we're getting close to 26, and now that I see a different type of crisis developing, I'm wondering if by the end of this, that, and by by when I say the end of this, I mean not that it's too, I don't know. People are talking about 150 on the US dollar Japanese yen, over $2 on the US dollar Canadian dollar, talking about 40 cents on the Australian dollar US dollar. Who knows, right? But maybe I should be looking more towards 32 on US dollar Mexican peso. I don't know. Thomas, if you have any opinion on that, I definitely defer to you. So US dollar, Canadian dollar came in pretty strong against the dollar over here. Although again, this has all been so volatile, it's really not, if you take away these 3 days, we're still trading up at pretty high levels. But I don't know. I mean, Russia was pretty firm today, digging in that they're prepared for several years. I don't think they're looking for any type of near-term solution, especially brokered by the US and Donald Trump. Huh. Shefu, of course. I think the pound is up huge today. Wow, pound is up more than used today. Pound is up 3.2%. That's a big move right now on the pound. Um, where does it go from here? I think it's more, well, I don't know, to be honest, Sherfu. There's a lot of momentum to the upside that looks like it's continuing. There's no sign of reversal. The easiest and simplest way to know, wait for the lower low, right? This thing is still going up. It looks like it has more momentum to the upside. I think that the next look could be up here towards 1.1986. That's 140 pips up further to the upside. So yeah, pound US dollar is looking strong. I It's hard to believe it's trading all the way down at 1.18. But you know, long term, it's a dollar story. And I think that is going to remain as such. Was also at the same time, Sherifu. This just looks so bad. This looks clearly like a dead cat bounce. Also, that level I just gave you, that also coincides with this resistance over there. If we get as high as there, which again is another 140 pips up, um, that's a pretty strong resistance area. You could see around the area of August over here where it was providing pretty strong support. That should be pretty strong resistance. Get back above that, okay, then things are possible. But initially, I would be looking to lean against this area over here. Why I still think there's definitely further room to the upside over here, and whether or not it's going to be something like, you know, up and down, probably not. It's probably going to be like one fake down, back up, another fake down, maybe the third will fall. But towards that resistance up there, that looks like an area initially to look in and dig in if we do get up there. This looks absolutely terrible, and get above this important area though, and then there's a lot of room to the upside. Maybe things will be changing. Maybe something happened to knock the current trajectory off the U.S. dollar and its strength. But right now it's trading, almost at 102. The dollar has to really get down, far in order for this current momentum to give way. You have also a huge reversal in dollar sentiment. What else are we looking at today, everyone? Yeah, Jingar, that's an important thing for us all to take a look at and or discuss. Um, ultimately, an end game. So here's from the way I've put it together, the best that I could visualize what this looks like, and the timing on all this is next to impossible. No one could get the timing right. No one could get the timing right. All right, that's very important to understand. So what from what I gather, and so sorry, there's different factors that could happen, right? And largely they do involve U.S. politics. If a democratic socialist, I'll just use that term, if a socialist gets elected inside the United States and they start MMT, modern monetary theory, if they start giving out, free healthcare, if they start giving out free college, if they start giving out free everything, and basically start printing money to the belief that whoever holds the reserve currency could print as much money as they want of it, we're going to end in inflation, in an inflationary trajectory a lot quicker. That's for sure. All right. So either way, this ends probably inflationary. But what it looks like is going to happen first is that we're going to see a huge deflationary period and or depression. Okay. In this type of environment, it's a dollar-based system, meaning that the debt is denominated in dollars across the world. People, whether people need goods and services, people need oil, largely traded in dollars, and or all other goods, right? Commodities are all traded in dollars. So whatever country you're in, you need dollars to purchase these things. So people have to take their local currency and exchange them into dollars. Now, when people and countries have debt, and there's 12 trillion of debt right now denominated just in dollars, they have to pay back that principal in dollars. So they have to exchange their currency to pay back the principal and then the interest in dollars, right? So what is that? $12 trillion is about a half a trillion dollars a year just in interest alone. This is a demand for dollars. There's only there's more debt than there are dollars. So this is a problem where dollars become scarce and people need those dollars. So this is why the dollar is expected to strengthen in this type of environment, until it comes the day that the dollar got so strong that it has crushed everything, and in that moment the dollar implodes. So how do you position yourself? I mean, that's why I'm talking about the need to own gold and Bitcoin, right? Because why there is no way to time it exactly when these things will happen. Well, the end game for the dollar is that it's unsustainable. It can't keep going on. It's the collapse of the U.S. dollar. Now, how that's all ushered in is a completely different story, and one that's being written and one that nobody knows. I do believe that what the IMF has done through reading their papers on introducing a central bank digital currency backed by the special drawing rights, which is also partially backed by gold, and it's a basket of currencies. What they're going to try to do is, as the next crisis develops, and when we get to the point where they have no other options, they're going to be like, okay, we could bail out the system. We're going to introduce as a reserve currency the CBDCs, which would be absolute disaster tyranny. At that point, there's absolute complete surveillance over everyone's spending. There's no such thing as cash. Everything is taxed directly from the transaction. They could cut anybody off from the system. If you forget getting deplatformed off of Twitter or YouTube, they could cut you off the system. They could call you a terrorist, and then you're just outside the system. These are all things and places that we're headed. This is what they've been planning. This is the direction it's all going. So dollar devaluation, in the end, it could be one. Yeah, I mean, I'll get right into that right now. In the end, why the dollar is set to devalue, it could be a long time coming. The way to protect yourself versus that is gold, precious metals, right? Gold, silver, and Bitcoin. This is something I'm interested in, Mima, as eventually getting into a core position. Seeing this bounce over here is very, very, very nice. Is this towards the top of the range? It could be. Yazbek was talking about he does foresee the Australian dollar, Swiss franc going much lower. I feel the same way about the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Are we getting towards an area where it's interesting enough to begin scaling in? It is, but at the same time, I'm just giving myself more room than I think, right? So why this looks interesting to me up here, and this might be the top of this range over here now. If we're consolidating, we're at the top, towards the top of the range over here. I think for me, I'm looking around 79.46. And if I don't get it, I don't get it. But I think that's where I will begin taking a position, and it's not going to be a full size position. I'd rather, come in small, and be able to come in again, if we get up to 80, 60. And will we get those levels? I have no idea if we'll come in that high, but I'm going to be patient. And see if it happens. Trying to get a read on the markets. The question is today whether or not we end up the day with the flight to safety and that risk off. Again, I have a feeling that we're going to see the equity markets trading up high today, going into the weekend, which will be the first in a long time. I think that the risk reward on the downside is not there right now. What else are we looking at, everyone? What other pairs are we interested in diving into? What other this Friday? This is the best time for us to get into some deep discussions. What is on all of your mind? So as far as the big C word, um, just to share. First of all, well, first of all, we have a lot of friends of friends who are sick, and not just old people, kids as well. And the information out there is obviously very murky. I can't imagine with the official numbers how I know how many people are sick that it's even possible. Um, and actually, the mother of my 2.5-year-old, my 2.5-year-old, someone in her class's mother was confirmed yesterday with the coronavirus. So and that is a community spread case. She was never out of the country. Um, what I foresee happening personally, the timeline that I'm putting together is that we peak out and the curve flattens worldwide sometime within the next 2 months. Um, Probably, around that time, we're seeing large portions of the US and everyone else on lockdown. Italy just went under martial law, I believe, today. Don't quote me on that. I believe that's exactly what happened. Well, yeah, that's what happened. They said that people weren't respecting the quarantine, self quarantining themselves, and Italy went under martial law. That happens in the United States, and well, we'll see if that happens in the United States. That will be a maybe a Joe Rogan podcast if that does happen. But I do think within 2 months we peak out on the curve. Um, but I do foresee this actually coming back in the fall. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that this is going to remain uh, first of all, until there's a vaccine and or herd immunity to this, it's going to be a very concerning situation for all of us and all of our loved ones and all of our families. As far as economics go, this is going to be a prolonged drag on the economy. Um, which is why when Yazbek talks about, he knows that the Australian dollar, Swiss franc is going lower, that I agree with him 100%. And as all of these, I just know that as all of you, sometimes we all know the right direction, but we're a little early, and timing is everything. Um, you know, so that's what I see going on right now. So Mima, I like this short. It's starting to get to a point where it looks attractive. I still want to give it some more room, um, and just take things at more attractive levels. I don't think Bitcoin is high here right now, everyone. I don't think it's high at all. I think once we get back above 9K, all right, I think everyone's going to be wish they started buying down here once we're back above 9,000. Just to make it easier on all of you, once we get above this trend line, and whether or not, who knows what that price action is going to look like. It could be a break. Oh, I don't want to do that. It could be a big break above the trend line, and a quick test of 1400, or it could be a whole break, to this level here around the 1200, retest the trend line, give you another chance to get back in and then up. But once we break that trend line, it's official that the bull market phase has begun, and the bull market phase in Bitcoin is something that obviously you all are aware of the moves that could happen. So Gabriel, the biggest export, most important resource of the Canadian economy is oil. So what is it? It's like oil and the housing market, right? Or the safe haven, the way to laundry money out of China into Vancouver. But oil is the largest resource and export of Canada. So the lower the price of oil, the less money coming in to Canada. So oil is and what is what is oil trading at right now? Down 10%, $24, right? Um, I don't know. Thank God the Mexicans put on that hedge against oil, so they're protected. I don't know that I don't believe Canada does anything like that. So there's a direct relation to oil and the Canadian economy. No. So Blair, for sure. Sorry, everyone. Just give me 1 second. Let me know. So during the bull market, and when I talk about bull market, everything in crypto is reliant on Bitcoin. So when I talk about the bull market, I'm talking about the bull market in Bitcoin, and that does usher in alt season. Alt season is the time in crypto when you do have altcoins, coins that are not Bitcoin, who come in there and they outperform Bitcoin. So by owning these altcoins, you could increase your Bitcoin holdings in the long run. And that's the whole purpose. Anyone and everyone who invest in altcoins, what they're looking to do at the end of the day is to own more Bitcoin. Okay. Now, no other cryptocurrency competes with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is competing versus gold and the US dollar, right? No other cryptocurrency is money, right? Now, Ethereum is looking to be, well, Ethereum, in my opinion, and I don't use this word loosely, is a scam because the founders of Ethereum, when they launched it, they knew that it was not possible to scale it. They didn't reveal that until just a few months ago, and there is video of them, both of them, the co-founders, being interviewed and saying that they knew it was not possible to scale. They're hoping they could just scale it one day. Now, is it possible Ethereum has an enormous appreciation and trades above $1,000 during this next bull market, even outperforming Bitcoin? 100%. 100%. I would not be surprised at all if that happens. Is it possible that XRP is able to go, to $3 or even $1, or of course, EOS and Litecoin and all the same. There's the distinct possibility they could outperform Bitcoin, but none of them are Bitcoin, right? And institutions, boomers, they're not looking to invest in those altcoins. They're all looking for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what there's going to come a day, probably within the next Bitcoin trades. I don't know. Gold is higher now. Don't quote me on the exact price. I did the math a year ago. It's different now, but more or less, Bitcoin overtakes $350,000 a Bitcoin. It has surpassed the market cap of gold. Although at that point, the market cap of gold is going to be higher, so it's tricky. That's a moving target. There will come a day when Bitcoin overtakes the market cap of gold, in my opinion. That's its first goal here. And once it does, then after that, it has its sights on overtaking the dollar as the reserve currency. Why would you want to own something else, right? For me, it's the same thing as gold, right? You want to own gold, right? Do I own silver? Yes. Has there been past environments where silver has outperformed gold? Of course. Usually in precious metal bull markets, silver outperforms. Um, However, gold is gold, right? And it's called the gold standard for a reason. And Bitcoin is the Bitcoin standard. There's actually the amazing book called the Bitcoin Standard that I highly recommend to everyone to read it if you want to understand money. Read the Bitcoin Standard. Um, and I can't pronounce his name. It's Professor Shafin something. Um, I don't recommend any other altcoins, Blair, to answer the question as directly as possible. I recommend owning Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is something that you want to own. Uh, of course, there's enormous, hugely enormous potential for trading Bitcoin, especially around the market cycles, right? Like I'm not talking about day trading Bitcoin as I am like, using the stock to flow chart that I show like how many months into the next halving does it go into bull market, bear market phase. But whenever this peaks out in the next 18 months or 12 to 24 months, from wherever it peaks out, it's going to dump 85% at least as well, right? So there's enormous opportunity to trade Bitcoin from the high to the low. And as we get towards the high, I'll be talking about the next part of the cycle, which would be the bear phase of it. I'm not just a Bitcoin bull. There's going to be an 85% drawdown from the highs for sure. That's what Bitcoin does. But thinking about this, buying some Bitcoin today and holding this from 10 years, do I think Bitcoin's going to trade over $1 million? Absolutely. Bitcoin will trade over $1 million of Bitcoin. It is fascinating. It's like too good to be true. I'm looking for the pound US dollar right now. Let me just pull her up. Getting close here into this area now, getting closer. Let's see. I'm gonna pull it up on the hour. It's probably should be on the 30-minute. Um, and the DXY, just so we know what the dollar is doing overall, off a little bit. Huh. I'm tempted to lean into this personally to the short side over here. Uh, and I'm going to follow this, and I may do so. But again, I won't short this, and I don't know if all of you are looking to go long or what, but I may short this if we get rejected here and start making lower lows. Thomas, that's a good question. We've seen the turn in the Australian dollar came, uh, you know, as those swap lines became available in Australia. Um, I guess the no one knows the timing, but when I say general consensus is what I believe to be the best consensus is that whatever they throw at the dollar will only be temporary, right? What I mean, that's my whole model base case, and for sure, whatever they do throw at the dollar will be temporary. Um, and we saw a pretty sharp, big move in the dollar over the past 2 weeks. I mean, look at this, and then look at this reaction violent, right? Violent. And if we get back above here and start making new highs, we could start seeing some big moves over here. I don't, Thomas, I don't know, but I do think that anything they do is going to be temporary. I believe that very, very strongly. Right, Wilford? Oh, I lost it. And what about I'm looking at the pound dollar. Just curious before I go back to the pound dollar, what the pound Japanese yen is looking like. It's a pretty sharp recovery too. U.S. equities really lifting off here. Looks like they got a strong bid behind them. It is such a mystery, Blair, about who created Bitcoin and whether it was one person or a group of people. Um, the storyline though could not be better, because if we knew who the creator of Bitcoin was, it would be completely different. And for sure, he would be in jail. Uh, but by having, or if it's a group of people, there's the theories that the NSA is behind it and all things like this. Uh, I don't think that's the case. The writings. I mean, he Satoshi posted on the Bitcoin Talk forum his writing style. Have you ever seen the movie the Unabomber on Netflix? Fascinating series, the Unabomber. Highly, highly, highly recommend. And the way that they were able to find out who he was that when they published his manifesto in purpose in the paper, so that if anyone knew his writing style, would be able to find him. And Satoshi's writing style is that of one person. I lean towards him being one person. Craig White is definitely, absolutely. I believe, uh, right. He's not. I mean, there's. I believe the courts have. There's a bunch of cases in the courts right now, and Craig Wright is having enormous, enormous problems. A huge believer in gold. I think gold is essential. I'm a much bigger believer in Bitcoin than gold, and just demographics are so important when it comes to investing, right? You could see this through the baby boomers and the housing market, and the pension plans now for the baby boomers and the strain that it's causing on the markets. And then with Bitcoin, millennials who in about 12 years will hold the most wealth as is passed on from the boomers down past generations, or maybe not have the most wealth. That event wealth eventually will be passed on to them, but they will be the largest demographic. The- you know they're not looking to buy gold, and I am a believer in gold because as it be, central banks and countries buy gold, and gold is essential to the monetary system. But they're going to be buying Bitcoin. You know, I think it's called. I'll do a quick Google search. Oh, what's that pound US dollar looking like right now? What time of day? So I got about 15 minutes to the close of the next candle. I'm going to keep tracking it. Um, if they're well said, good point. There we go. Wilbert, this is absolutely fascinating. Highly, 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 highly recommend it. All right, so oh, patience, patience. Wait, wait. Hopefully we come back up. If I get too far down, I'm not going to chase after it. I'm in the mode during this crisis over here of looking to build up a portfolio, showing patience as to enter into new positions around it, and then trade it like that. But this type of this 400 pip bounce over here that we're seeing today, 3.5% looks good to me. I like it into this resistance over here. Why do I like it? Because I know where I'm wrong, and I can get out and wait and try to get back in. Looks good. Dollar looks like it's trying to strengthen and firm up over here. Watch the New Zealand dollar. I'm sorry, the US dollar, Japanese yen also bouncing off of this area of support. This looks good. Absolutely. We're quiet in here today. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if I'm dropping the ball here. with all of you. If so, let me know. Um, or I don't know if it's Friday, and or I don't know if this volatile market has gotten a lot of people caught on the wrong side of it, which is could be the case as well. Um, I do my best here to keep you on the right side of the market, but people are obviously making their own choices and or decisions. Yeah, I hold positions over the weekend all the time. I have on what I believe is more or less the ultimate position. Um, Short euro US dollar and long Bitcoin around that. I want to be long gold. I don't. I think that gold is actually more susceptible in this environment than Bitcoin is. Oh, Jesse, did you just put $100 in, right? How could we any of us have known? Right? If all the silver stackers these past 10 years, every dime they'd put into silver had put into Bitcoin, they would all be actually extraordinarily rich. There's an article I didn't read here about from Adam. It says these plans to save the economy aren't working. It's time for Plan B. Uh, economic Plan B is what? Is Bitcoin. So this is interesting. This is something that I want to watch. This is what Thomas was talking about. So I'll include the link over here. And this is talking about the additional swap lines, what's that's going to do. And we're talking about direct central bank intervention is on the table. The only thing is, though, I think that the central banks will have to act in unison. The Plaza Accord is the most recent example of central bank when the dollar got too strong, central banks intervening. I don't think we're at that pain right now. I'm interested, nevertheless, to see what the video shows. Nice, Sherfu. Good luck on that, and thank you for bringing that to our attention today, Sherfu. I'm really thankful for that. At the right time. So this is definitely of interest for me just to hear what these thoughts are on this, because always looking out for whatever the other side of the trade is. I personally think that could possibly, the first thing we would see would be intervention from the White House, from the Treasury, which has the power to do that. But those guys are probably smart enough to know that would only be temporary and therefore might not do it. I don't know. I don't know what ultimately could be done, or if we're at levels where the Fed just cut rates to zero and is doing what, $70 billion of repo a day. How much money did they spend this week? I don't have no idea, but I know it's over $500 billion. Yeah, Jesse, patience, patience, patience. The market's always going to be there. There is no rush. 100%. Pick your spots, pick them well. Euro went all the way up and then all the way down to unchanged and is now up. So it's fighting there today. Dollar's off a little bit. Is that profit taking going into the weekend after this enormous run? Could be. Um, I remain a holder. I hedged all of my dollar positions with long on the S&P, which is basically this rise in the dollar is not even being felt. I'm just maintaining because of the rise in the S&P, and as long as that continues, that will keep me in it. Although I still feel it's too early. I do want to. Yeah, I can't get any type of read on this. I don't know. Yazbek, you might be right. This is the time to step in up here. I am long the S&P. I took first I took 120. I don't. It's been a long time. Since last May, so 10 months. And I jumped in, took 125 points to the upside, which is the most amount of points I ever took in the S&P in one day on one contract ever. And now got long again, and I don't know. I want to see what happens once the Senate bill's passed. I want to see if we get, if we get a little bit of a continued bounce into that, and then, or if that becomes sell the news, or we even get a multi-day rally. I am looking at much higher levels. We're looking at in 1929, the crash. We were looking at how markets moved down, come back up, and then get crushed. It's a pattern that I've seen. We saw it on Tesla. That's the pattern that I was tracking and wanted to get involved with. This came up higher than I thought it would, though. You can see it on Bitcoin in 2017, 2018. Looks like the S&P, doesn't it? And then you get the bounce before it goes boom. So I felt like I felt like yesterday was peak fear. I feel like I feel like all of us are kind of ahead of the curve, but I don't know how many more, by how much more. But I felt like yesterday, in the real world, was peak fear. And not to say that that's not going to return and or get greater, and not to say that we're not going to see any type of we're all preparing ahead for a depression, right? That's what we need to be aware of. Hopefully it never does not happen. Hopefully that we have a complete recovery. But I felt like it was time that the downside, the risk to the downside did not outweigh the reward anymore. And we'll see if I get lucky. What was I tracking? The US dollar, Japanese yen definitely looks good at this level for me here. Looks better here. Let me get on a 1 hour chart or a 30-minute in this type of movement. Right, as we came back, tested that support, and now rising up. Pound US dollar looks good for me here. And now I want to take a look at what's going on here with the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Wilfred, I'm very bullish on the US dollar, Japanese yen. This one we've discussed over the last couple of days more than a few times, but just to give you so you could clearly see why very quickly, I'll even do it on maybe a 3-day chart just to give us a little bit better of a perspective. Uh, Here we are, Wilford, this trend line over here. Once we broke to the upside here a couple of weeks ago, I was bullish. It was a false break. Once we crashed below the blue line here, 109.71, to me this was a failed break. We got really long the yen over here. And now that we're back, crossing back, breaking out to the upside again, this is a 5-year trend line. I'm very bullish on the US dollar versus the Japanese yen. And I think if we get above this 112.20, that we could start seeing some big gains come in really quickly. And, just so you know, because if we get below, this is the trend line over here. If we get below this trend line, below this blue line, 109.71, and below 108.86, I'm bullish on the yen again. This is the red line, 108.86. I will be very bullish the yen. This will be a second false breakout to the upside. This will be a second false break, but this is possibly, following the charts and letting the charts be my guide, because I slept by taking profits too soon on my Canadian dollar, which was basically the same exact thing. You can see there's my trend line break. Yeah, I think that the US and China are basically in a race right now to be the first to come up with the vaccine. So that there is an enormous amount of resources. It's kind of similar to the space race between Russia and the US right now, trying to come up with that vaccine. But from what I understand is that, minimum you're looking at 12 months. And then after that, you're looking at the logistics of producing the vaccine, and then the logistics of getting it out there. So I think that the damage that's going to be caused to the economy is going to be severe. Um, I'm I'm only looking here past Monday right now. I'm looking past when the S&P play. I want to see the market reaction after the U.S. Senate passes the Corona virus bill. If it can even, it's Friday. It's what's been known as the last 7 weeks, risk off Friday. Let's see if the equities could even hold on to their gains. Sherfer, where are you focused on? Are you focused on the US dollar, Japanese yen, or are you on the pound US dollar? Beautiful. Well, I bet you caught that bounce then in the Australian dollar, which has been a big one. Goes against what I do, but what a trade. I know a bunch of people who are involved in this. Um, but I'm also sure a bunch of people got wrecked longing throughout all of this fall. Whoever caught it down here, well done. I wonder how much life she has left in her also. I just don't want to be too soon. I believe these are all dead cat bounces, but I don't want to be too soon. Gold having a little bit of trouble holding on to these gains. Oh, beautiful, Sheriff. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And you're right. I 100% I'm with you. And going back to the Australian dollar, US dollar, I'm wondering, is this bounce we're seeing right now? When does that become another area to lean against? You could see here that we spiked up into this area of resistance. Um, is that a good area if we get back up there to lean against in right now? If we start reversing over here, I don't know. How much higher it can go, I don't know. I'm assuming that you got short here, Sheriff, from some much higher levels if you've been in this all week and recognized that trade. It's a slow session. I appreciate you guys for being here. Um, but the market is what the market is, and I'm just playing it accordingly. Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate that for like you don't know. I feel like even though the dollar is so strong, that everyone in the world, not everyone, there's a lot of people who are obviously very bullish the dollar, but everyone is looking for, you know, some type of intervention to step in to derail the dollar. Um, Man, I don't know that we're anywhere near towards a pain threshold yet. Blair, if you're still here, um, and you have any good content to share with us that you've seen, please do. Enjoyed the videos you sent over yesterday a lot. Hold on a second. This is one being shared right now in the Telegram for us. That as soon as we get off over here, as soon as I get all the kids situated, I'm gonna give a watch to. Appreciate the share. Thank you for that. Yep. Sheriff, have a just a really really nice weekend. Just by the way, Sheriff, first of all, appreciate your energy, appreciate your positive vibe, and as is, everyone in this community just adds so much to me, and I'm grateful for it. But building off of your positive vibe there, Sheriff, just to everyone, we all are probably more aware of the whole situation than most people. And a lot of people, when I say people, it's quote people, like normal people, like they get their information from the news, who is like, no, it's just it's the flu, right? And now they're hearing like the same people tell them information about what's going on, and they're like, oh, they've become experts. Like, we already know everything we need to know, right? Do not focus on the coronavirus at all. Like, you don't need that in your life. You're aware of the situation. We're all acting accordingly and appropriately, right? Which is probably more prepared than others. Like, where you're aware of the situation, there's no need to be engulfed in it, right? I kind of told my wife a few days ago, I was like, listen, just do not even get off the social media. Do not look at that stuff. You don't there's no need to be bombarded every day, all day long, with coronavirus. Try to block that all from your life, focusing on the good, right? Wherever you are and whatever you're doing. If you're home and you have more time, then focus on that learning, on that research. I'll share all the content that you guys share with me all the time. um what's going on? And there you go, Samantha. Yeah, Samantha. Right, so the worrying's done. 100%. 100, we're all aware, we all know what's going on. Let's focus on the good. Let's focus on building our knowledge. Thomas sent that or had that idea of Google Ray Dalio. Google, I don't know the name of the document. If anyone does, please let me know. Otherwise, I will find it and share it. Search Ray Dalio market cycles. I'm sure that's what pulls it up. Read the part about the depression, different market cycles. This is the information that's going to be really useful to you right now. Find a documentary on the depression this weekend. What is a depression? I actually, we're all aware of the Great Depression. We all have some type of memories of what that means, not from experience it, from growing up and hearing about it. But you know, let's be prepared, and let's not be fearful. Fear does not play a role in this at all. Only hope, and just, we want to be aware of information, but we don't let that information consume us. We want to use that information. All right. um right, media is playing a role everywhere. Quote of the day, John. quote of the day, right? I remember, weeks ago, you know, not arguing, but like, you know, someone telling me that it's just the flu, and now all of a sudden they're an expert. It's a joke, but it's true. I saw a funny video on YouTube maybe of people showing all the news anchors from all different networks saying it's just the flu, it's just the flu, and then they're like the same anchor then like the coronavirus is serious, everyone needs to watch out. These people do not know anything. Just tune them out, focusing on what's important. The Jeffrey Gundlach interview I did not see yet. I don't know what I think of him. I want to watch that interview. He's a big dollar bear, right? I don't know his history at all either. I know that he is amazing for sound bites though, and I know that he is amazing for always stepping in to the limelight at the most perfect opportunity. So, you know, for that alone, the guy is smart, right? I want to hear what he's saying. I want to. God bless you too, Sherfu. God bless you. God bless you all. And absolutely, all keep everyone in our prayers. Those suffering the most directly from the virus, as well as all of us and all of you and all our families are safe. Yeah, I think. Well, I wonder if after 9/11, the amount of executive orders that were first put in place by Bush Jr. and then by Obama, I'm pretty sure the executive orders for martial law, I know for a fact they were done on, the they're stand in place that the president already has the powers to do all that. They'll do whatever they want to do. Um, right? They've already done everything they wanted to do. What, John? Are they talking about um, enforcing those quarantines anytime soon? Anywhere inside the states? I know that the governor of California called for a quarantine for. I think, is it the governor of California? Was it Newsom or was it the mayor of LA? Someone called for a quarantine of Los Angeles. I don't know how they enforce that. Seeing a bit of risk off coming into the market now. That's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely like to always be aware of conspiracy theories, only because more often than not they wind up being conspiracy facts. And we all want to make our own informed decisions. I got a 23.58 fill here, but I think we're down 2% in the past 15 minutes or something. Yep. I was gonna keep my stop in at break even. It's below the peaks of these two things over here. Um, let's see what happens. It's coming in hard, huh? Tom, I also saw the Australian dollar, US dollar, which I was tracking, but didn't get into it. Took a bite there. Let's look where the pound US dollar is. The XY back over 102, gaining strength, and US equities are jumpy. I have my stop in at break even. I'm just gonna hold them and see if I could hold on to them. Bye. Really seeing that move into risk off today, right now. Swiss franc also, not sure what the yen is doing. It is jumpy out there right now, that's for sure. Look at this headline from Canada. We received 500,000 applications for unemployment versus 27,000 normally. I haven't even seen the headlines that we would see during the crisis, where you would see layoffs. 15,000 people, 50,000 people, 20,000 people coming through all the time. Banks laying off I haven't seen those headlines, and look, this is going to be devastating. This is not something that the economy is going to be able to recover from anytime soon. Not to mention, I mean, this time it does. You know, all the restaurant owners. Can you imagine? I don't know if anyone's looked at a monthly candle on the Euro US dollar, but let's take a look because this is doing some levels over here that I'm looking at. First of all, my eye is definitely on this channel over here. And if you could see, we're still towards the top half of this channel, right? Now we do need to break down below 1035 in order to really, really accelerate any type of sell-off, which would come first into 0.96, 96 cents. Oh my goodness. That's terrible news. Yeah, at the end of the day, however, well, I mean, I think it's too soon to be looking honestly for what happens next. But at the end of the day, the world will be changed because of this. The world will be changed. We no longer can we rely on obviously, China for our supply chains. That's become clear. Um, when this is all said and done, the world that we now live in will be entirely different from what I understand and from what I see. The thing that I'm most alarmed about, the thing that I don't even really want to think about, and the thing that I don't really have the ability to talk about with other people outside of yourselves with, is throughout all of this. And what I see right now is in Italy, there are some people in Italy frighteningly concerned about how willingly people are right now looking to give up their freedom for surveillance. And you saw yesterday that the CDC requested that Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and/or somebody else, open up all of their data, cell phone data, so that people could, so they could track people, right? So they know that, if they want you home quarantined, if you're out, that they have that type of surveillance in place. And there's going to be a large portion of the population, as they did for quote unquote terrorists, who are so willing to give up their freedoms in order for protection. Thank you, TSA, and the nightmare that's brought upon us. But this is going to be even worse. There is going to be, you were talking about it, John, you were talking about how they do not have the power to have the military or National Guard standing against American citizens. And not one of us, I do think, will be surprised if that's what we saw in the next 60 days. And that is frightening. And what's even more frightening is that the people are going to be the ones calling for it. And quote unquote people, those that watch the news, they're going to be calling for these freedoms to be taken away from us. They're going to be the ones ratting out their neighbors who are outside getting a walk or getting some fresh air because they're outside of their house. They're going to be willing and calling for us to be able to be tracked so that they know no one's breaking the quarantine. And they're going to, Agenda 21, I'm going to have to look into that. If you have a link, please send it. So this is my greatest fear. I process it inside myself. I don't really talk about it. And it was who's the hero? Who is that great hero? The Julian Assange, right? Founder of WikiLeaks. One of the last things that he wrote and talked about was that our children will never be able to live in a world with the same freedoms that we had. I would love to be able to find that to read his own words and quote it because they were put absolutely prophetically. But that is where we're headed. I don't know if Africa has the ability to test for cases. Number one, Julian Assange, hero, patriot. I don't know that they have the ability to test for cases in Africa, right? USA only a week ago had the ability to test for cases. You know, 2 months into the crisis. I also haven't looked in car at the map lately. I do try to avoid coronavirus information almost all the time. I think over a 3-day period, it now gets about 5-10 minutes of attention from myself. So you could pull, if you pull up this chart, you could see Africa. You could see how the cases are lagging, Dinkar. But in 2 weeks, that might be all orange and red for sure. Yeah, 100%. Can you imagine? Samantha, I love it. But there's a good bit of humor there. I like it. Yeah, Event 201. I'm not familiar with that either. So I have Agenda 21 and Event 21. I got a little bit of fun reading to catch up on today. And I want to watch that Mike Maloney video, and I want to get into what Thomas shared about a refresher on Ray Dalio market cycles. But Bill Gates, right? Father, he was eugenics, right? Bill Gates brought up, Bill Gates believes the world's overpopulated. Bill Gates warning the world right before it happens that a pandemic's going to hit. Bill Gates owns the patent to the coronavirus vaccine, right? How do you own the patent before it's invented? I don't know. And funny how Bill Gates left Microsoft last week. Exit, stage left. There we go. And also, by the way, just one other small little piece to that puzzle. If you saw on Netflix the Bill Gates propaganda piece put out right before all this happening, making Bill Gates look like, to whoever watched it, like he's this really, really nice guy, right? Um, you know, amazing the timing. Amazing the timing. You can't patent it. All right. Thank you, John. That's a breath of fresh air, at least to know that and understand the truth. And rewriting it. If you noticed that in within the last couple of days, Wikipedia was edited, so it's no longer called the Spanish flu. It's now called something like I have no idea what it's called, but something like the influenza pandemic of 2018 of 1918. Euro holding up well today. I think better than most uh, currencies versus the dollar, actually, except outside the Canadian dollar. Can be rewritten right in our face. And then the kid I've been watching Blair reintroduced me back to Dollar Vigilante. Um, and I had stopped a couple of years ago watching some of his videos because certain of his understanding is off, and like we all get things wrong, and he's just off about some things, but he's right about a lot of things. He's right about a lot of things, even if he's off about certain things. And with all information, it doesn't matter whether if there's something there to learn, there's something there to learn. Take the good, take what you could use, and leave the rest. Right? You have to be able to filter out information. Right? But he goes, he's always big about talking about the schools, public school systems being indoctrination camps. How do you say that word? Indoctrination. I can't say it. Indoctrination camps. And it's true because Samantha, you're talking about them rewriting the history, and then they're just going to go ahead and enforce that and teach that and repeat it over and over again to the new generations. Jesse has some really good information on that, John. I am, again, until proven wrong, I am under the impression that it was because they're able to well, dissect is obviously the worst. They're able to go down to the molecular level here and find out the exact strain of of of, uh, of the corona, and I'm under the belief that it was definitely created in a U.S. lab, bought 4 years ago by the Chinese, and then they probably made whatever adjustments inside Wuhan. Hold on, let me pull up. Nah, it was inside a YouTube chat. He did that where he touched on the specifics of it. I don't know, but we will find out the truth one day. That I'm sure of. It doesn't even matter right now, but I am sure. If you all remember Loose Change, the video on 9/11, that's really what set it off for me from going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out what happened that day. I am sure in the future, you know, the world and the underground being what it is, the truth is going to come out. But it's Friday. This is our opportunity to get into it a little bit and talk about things that we don't get to during the week. And you know, Samantha has astutely pointed out, we're going to get back focused on the trading, right? We can't let these things consume us, but it is what's going on around us. I think it's more important that you just don't let that fear in. There's nothing to fear, right? Take information, absorb it, make informed decisions because of it, but don't get consumed, right? Probably social media, is probably the one place you should not be looking if you find yourself being like corona. Well, I assume none of you listen to the news, and if you do, just stop listening to the news, and then you won't be bombarded with this messaging. But it takes place on social media as well, and there's just if we have you have a little bit more time than normal because we're kind of practicing that social distancing and or self quarantine. There's so much information to learn. There's so much good information that could help build and prepare us for our future. So, and we're seeing these layoffs now. John was talking about uh, I forgot the three out of 300,000 people out of a population of 300,000 people, 7,000 were laid off. Man, this is real. This affects families. This affects families being able to put food on the table, and then other families, small businesses. I'm talking local diner, restaurant. You know, everyone is going to suffer. We're all so connected, and this is just getting started. So when I talk about Ray Dalio's market cycles and the importance of understanding what a depression is, how to survive a depression, right? Because you know, um, people living off of potatoes alone for 2 years is the reality, right? So how do you protect yourself and your family, right? Blair was talking about earlier. Mike Maloney's been telling him for years that he needs to own precious metals, and he's waited till it's too late. It's the same thing right now, right? Like it's not too late yet, but there is the possibility that it could become too late too soon. The time to prepare for it now, and it's not out of fear. It's doing it out of prudence. I love it, Jesse. That comes from Brent Johnson, dollar milkshake theory. That's something else, you know. Something great to research. There's some great YouTube videos. I don't have any links for them, but there's some great YouTube videos, and a lot to learn. Sherifu, I know you left us, but again, thank you for bringing up the pound US dollar earlier today at that important level. Appreciate you. Dollar is coming back on strong. Ooh, the craziest thing, John. Have you seen the BIOS weapon lab in Wuhan has the same logo as the umbrella corporation in what's the name of the video game? Um, I forgot the name of the super famous video game. In the video game, there's a virus released upon the world that kills a high proportion of the population. The same exact logo in the video game, different colors as the logo of the bioweapons lab in China. Please do, Jesse. Send it to the Telegram. I'll post it in here. Resident Evil. You guys are all aware of it. It is Resident Evil. Someone Google, just so you see it yourself. Google Resident Evil logo, Wuhan Bios Lab, and you'll see the logo is exactly the same in the video game. As well as Corona is an acronym for Raccoon, which was Raccoon Corporation, right? That's the name of it. And then also, while we're talking about all this fun stuff, there is I haven't seen it, but I'm more so the Economist magazine. supposedly with close ties to the Rothschilds, they have put out uh, recently a cover of President Trump sitting on what looks like a throne of toilet paper with a crown around his head. Right, so you get the coronavirus crown. Everyone's on this mad rush for toilet paper. Yeah, on your sons or yours. Thanks, Jesse. Jesse's got a nice link here on the milkshake theory, and I'm gonna share it with all of you. I don't want to jump into. I'm gonna get into that, Samantha. I feel like jumping down the rabbit hole a little bit more. I've jumped so far down the rabbit hole times in my life that I tend to, kind of just have this back awareness and try to, like, focus in on the present, right? Focus in on my wife and the kids and my investments, and then most important part of my life is absolutely 100% my faith and the Lord, and that's where I gets my devotion. But I like to have that overall awareness of what's going on in the world, because I know what's at play here, and I'm going to jump down that rabbit hole you suggested. This is from Jesse on the dollar milkshake theory. It's the one he recommends. Check it out. Thank you. I'm gonna copy and paste that right now. Dementor effect news. And I know Blair is gonna. I'm gonna share that with him. He's gonna be all over it. Dollar coming in hard. Dollar being slurped up right now. Risk off Friday in effect. US equities holding up though. Markets are active. All right, everyone. I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend. I thank you for sharing this time. Definitely, anyone comes across anything interesting this weekend that they're reading, that they feel others, that myself and others will benefit from, please send it my way. Please send them my way, and I'll try to do the same. I'll try to whatever resources I come across, I'm gonna go ahead and send out to all of you. Um, you guys are the best. I appreciate you. Definitely have you and your families, and especially those suffering right now, in thoughts and prayers, and those suffering from fear. Again, that's the theme of today. Don't let that fear get to you. Don't let that fear in at all. There's nothing to fear. Be informed. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you later. Thank you, Thomas. Everyone, as he said, have a good weekend and stay healthy.